I took the Halloween shift because I needed the money, not because I believed in ghosts. $10 an hour, one night, cash on hand. The flyer said, "The Black Hollow Experience. Scare actors needed. Must be good with people." It was built inside an abandoned furniture store on the edge of town. Someone had blacked out the windows and stapled plywood walls into narrow, twisting hallways. The floor creaked in all the wrong places. The air smelled like burnt plastic and fog juice. They gave me room 7, the chapel. Fake altar, black candles, a coffin prop with a hand that popped out when I hit the puddle. My only line was, "Forgive us, Father," whispered through the fog. Simple enough. The shift started at 7.
The first few groups were exactly what I expected. Drunk teenagers, giggling couples, 1 or 2 kids who screamed before I even moved. I was half bored, half tired, just counting the minutes. Then, about an hour in, I heard it, a scream. Not a fun scream, not the fake kind you hear from thrill seekers. This one was short, raw, and cut off halfway. I froze, my foot still on the pedal. It came from the other side of the altar, where no one was supposed to be. "Room 7, you good?" The manager's voice buzzed in my headset. Ricky, a heavy guy with a shaved head and too much confidence. "Yeah," I said automatically, scanning the fog. Thought I heard something. "Probably room 8 bleeding through," he said. "Stay in character." But it didn't sound like bleed through. I'd worked haunted houses before. You learn to recognize your walls, the way sound bounces between plywood. This wasn't echo. It was close, inside my space. When the next group came through, I tried to shake it off. I whispered the line, hit the pedal, watched the rubber hand shoot out. They jumped and ran through laughing. But behind their laughter, I caught something else. A soft, wet sound, like fabric sliding over wood. It came from beneath the altar. After the group cleared, I crouched and lifted the edge of the curtain. Behind it was the service area. Cables, fog machine tubing, a couple of old paint cans stacked in the corner. And under the platform, I noticed a hatch, a square of plywood, slightly open. Cold air was seeping out. I crouched lower, using my phone light to look. For a second, I thought I saw movement, something pale and thin, slipping deeper under the stage. The light flickered off fog and wiring. My breath caught. "Ricky," I whispered, "there's something under the altar." Silence, then static. "Copy?" No reply. The fog machine clicked, releasing a hiss that filled the room again. I reached for the hatch but stopped halfway. The air coming from inside wasn't the same temperature as the rest of the room. It was colder, damp, almost like outside air. Something shifted again under the wood, and then I heard breathing. The breathing wasn't loud. That made it worse. Close, shallow, like someone trying not to be heard. It came in little counts. 2 seconds in, 2 out. A tiny catch at the end like a stifled cough. "Hey," I said, low. "You can't be down there. You'll get hurt." No answer. Just that breath. I slid my phone from my pocket and tucked the rubber mask up off my nose to see better. The blue light from the screen made the fog look dirty. I got on my knees and eased the hatch open with 2 fingers. Cold air brushed my face. It smelled wrong for an indoor space. Wet wood, dust, the faint, sweet sour of something that had sat too long in a sealed box. The beam found wooden joists, a bundle of cables zip-tied like a black vine, the back face of the mirror panel that made the altar look deeper than it was. Fog hung under there like low river smoke. "Room 7, status," Ricky finally clicked in. "We're pushing capacity." "I think someone crawled under the altar," I whispered. "I can hear them breathing." He took a second. "Do not crawl in. Say again, do not crawl in." Lock the room, call for a captain, and we'll sweep. Another small breath from the dark, a dry swallow after it, like a kid who'd been crying. I'm just going to look, I said, because the part of me that listens to rules is always a step behind the part that gets curious. I set the phone flat and slid my shoulders through the opening, elbows scraping plywood. The clearance was maybe 22 inches. My ribs brushed the deck. Dust went straight to the back of my throat. "Hey," I said, softer. "I'm Staff. You okay? Talk to me." The light washed over a shape. Not clear, fog always edits what you see, but enough to convince my brain. A pale oval, then a line that might have been a forearm, then nothing. It slid away deeper, as if the whole underfloor had taken a single slow breath of its own. I froze, listening with my whole body. The haunt's soundtrack thumped through the walls. Farther off, a chain drag, someone's laughter, a goat mask actor stamping in the hallway for his next cue. In the crawlspace, a new sound, a faint rhythmic tick, like a bead on string knocking wood, not steady enough to be mechanical. "I can't see you," I tried. "If you're stuck, tap, twice for yes." Silence. Then 2 taps. Light, but there. My mouth went dry. "Okay, do you feel hurt? Tap once for yes." 1 tap. Farther back. I didn't think. I kept sliding. My belt scraped a crossbeam. Splinters broke under my sleeves. The floor had a slight slope toward the mirror panel, and I felt it in my shoulders more than my knees. I could just touch a rib of framing on the right to pull myself forward. Something brushed my cheek. Not a cobweb, not a wire. Skin. Cool and dry, a quick tap of fingertips, then gone. I jerked and smashed my shoulder into a beam so hard my vision sparkled. I swallowed a curse and went still, listening to my own pulse try to outrun itself. 7? Ricky again, sharper now. "You're not under that stage, are you?" I didn't answer. I didn't want to take my mouth off breathing. The crawl space made sound weirdly private. I could hear my tongue click when I swallowed. 7, answer, he said. "I'm walking the catwalk. I'm looking at Cam C. It's clear under there. Back out now." "There's someone here," I said. It came out as a scrape. "They touched me." I wedged my palm flat and stretched the phone farther. The light splashed the mirror panel's backside and kicked white back into my face. For one strobe-frozen blink, it gave me a reflection. My own mask pushed up, eyes wide, dust streak on my chin. Then the light slurred and the image smeared. When it settled, the reflection had an extra shape in it. A head, half hidden behind mine, pale as paper. The mouth hung open like it was catching breath. The eyes didn't catch light. They swallowed it. I flinched, and the phone slid out of my hand, skittered forward, and lodged against a beam. The screen turned at an angle and lit the deck in a thin triangle. "Don't move," I said. No idea to whom. I stretched for the phone, shoulder burning. My fingers grazed it. Something cold pressed the back of my hand instead. A palm, small. It squeezed, once, a child signal. I'm here. "Okay," I said. Okay, I've got you." I shifted my weight to get leverage, and that's when I felt resistance on my forearm, like fabric catching. No, like a hand closing around my sleeve from deeper in, not the small palm, something lower. The pressure wasn't hard. It was anchored, like someone who didn't want to be left. My scalp tingled. I pulled gently. The hold tightened, then let go, almost polite. 7, Ricky's voice jumped an octave. "I'm at the booth. On camera, you're alone. Out. Now." I got both hands on the phone, dragged it back, and crabbed in reverse, ribs squeaking on plywood. The small palm slid along my skin until it reached my wrist, and then, as if there were rules down there I didn't understand, it let go. I popped up through the hatch like breaking surface, banged my spine, and rolled to my hip. The room felt too big, too bright. The candle flicker hurt my eyes. I swallowed fog. "There's someone under there," I said into the mic. "They're small. They're breathing. They tapped, twice for yes." "Negative," Ricky said immediately, too fast. "Camera show empty."
Lock 7. I'm pulling a floor captain, and we'll sweep with house lights. I stared at the hatch. The cold draft had stopped. The wrong smell was gone. My phone screen showed dust grit, a hairline scratch, the timer app I'd opened to track brakes. Behind me, the goat-masked actor banged his cue against the wall. 3 knocks. The next group was seconds away. Something scraped once under the platform. Slow, deliberate, a nail on wood. 2 taps, then 1. House lights in a haunt ruin everything. The magic drops. The plywood shows its seams. People become tired coworkers in rubber masks. Ricky killed the soundtrack in our quadrant and walked in with a floor captain named Tamsin. She had a utility vest, a coil of gaffer tape on her wrist, and the exact patience of someone who's done this too many Halloweens in a row. "Room 7 locked," Ricky said. "Guests staged in 8. We'll sweep and reset." He crouched at the hatch. "You went under?" "Just shoulders," I said. "There's somebody small, breathing. They tapped." Tamsin lay flat, shoulder to the deck, checking with a pen light. "Nothing," she said after a beat, calm like a nurse. "Clear to the mirror panel. No feet, no fabric, no skin." "Run the altar front," Ricky said. I slid the faceplate key and lifted the altar panel like a car hood. Cold washed my hands again, faint but real. The candles, now revealed for what they were, cheap battery pillars, blinked slower in house light. The inside looked wrong, bigger than it should. My rational brain said depth illusion. My throat said hole. "There," I pointed. On the deck inside, a dark smudge dragged toward the back, then broke into shorter marks, like fingertips pulled along wood. Not thick enough for paint, not rusty enough for old nails. "Old stain," Ricky said, too fast. Tamsin angled the penlight. The beam hit something caught on a screw head near the mirror panel. A thread, pale, almost translucent. She caught it with tape and lifted it off. Not fabric, something like onion skin? I couldn't place it. "Bag it," she said, and slid the tape into a zip bag from her vest like this was a Tuesday and we were pest control. Ricky stood. "Here's the thing," he said, looking at me, not unkind. "Camera feed is king. If the cams say it didn't happen for the purposes of decisions. Let's verify and reopen. We're slammed." We walked to the security booth at the back of the building, past a writhing line of teenagers and the smell of cold rain tracking in from outside. The booth was a plywood cube with 6 black and white monitors, each split in 4. The screens showed the haunt in ghost vision. Every room too flat, every person too white. "Cam C, room 7, Ricky tapped the keyboard. The feed rewound 30 minutes. He hit play. There I was, a thin figure in a cassock, half mask pushed up. I watched myself kneel, lift the hatch, dip my shoulders. The fog, always thick in person, barely registered on the camera. I saw my hand reach, freeze, reach again. Then me backing out, rolling to my hip, speaking into my collar mic. Under the altar, absolutely empty. No movement, no shadow, not even dust. A negative space that seemed cleaner than the room around it. "Angle 2, Tamsin said. He switched to the overhead cam on the catwalk. Same moment, same emptiness. "Audio?" she asked, almost bored. He brought up the room mic. My own voice hissed. "There's someone under there. Small. Tapped twice. Nothing else. Just the faint machine hum of the fogger and a distant chain drag from another scene." I swallowed. What about the group that said they saw someone crawl under? Ricky rewound again, this time to the time code of the last group.
We watched 5 white ghosts file through, 2 couples and a short kid in a hoodie. They hit the altar, jumped at the prop, then shoved past laughing, except the kid. The kid turned, looked down at the floor, and stepped backward once. His shoe heel caught the edge of the hatch frame. He flinched and rejoined the group. "Trip hazard," Ricky said. "I'll get maintenance to shave that lip." He froze the frame, zoomed. The camera resolution went to soup. But even in soup, the space beneath stayed clean as a hospital tray. I kept staring anyway. If you look long enough, you can convince your brain to put features into static. After 10 seconds, I realized I was holding my breath in sync with how I remembered the crawlspace. 2 in, 2 out, catch. I let it go and felt shaky. A knock hit the booth door. One of the cashiers, rain in her hair. "We've got a missing," she glanced at me. "Private?" Ricky's face flattened. "Who?" "Guy from Group 12. Girlfriend says he never came out. He's not at the restrooms, not outside. She's freaking." Ricky looked at the monitors like they owed him money. "Pull Group 12 entry," he said to Tamsin. "Get a name from the cashier. Radio floor captains, soft sweep, standard lines. Nobody panic, the line." He kept the room 7 feet up as Tamsin keyed entries. The missing guy, broad shoulders, checked shirt, showed up on the lobby cam, grinning and flexing for the photo wall like an idiot. I recognized him because his girlfriend had rolled her eyes in the chapel and said absolutely not when he joked about proposing. We tracked him across the map, room by room, camera to camera, like a board game. Lobby, Hall 2, Room 5, Room 6, the morgue, where he banged on a locker and pretended to be scared. Room 7's entry, and then the feed glitched. A hiccup, a half-second of gray. When the image returned, the group stood at the drape to Room 8. 4 people. Not 5. "Glitch," Ricky said again. "Too fast, twice in one night." "Roll it back," Tamsin said, "frame by frame." He did. On the frame before the glitch, 5 white outlines. On the frame after, 4, sitting in a cut of time small enough to pretend it never happened. "Guests double back sometimes," Ricky said. "We've got blind corners." "We don't in 7, I said. My voice sounded wrong in the booth, too loud. "You have to pass me. There's one way out." Ricky pinched the bridge of his nose. "He's outside smoking with his buddies," he said. "Cashier will find him in 2 minutes." The booth mic, still open on Room 7, picked up a sound then. Not loud. A whisper threaded under machine hum, like a voice pulled through cotton. "Did you hear that?" I asked. Nobody answered. They were watching the missing guy's trail on another screen. The whisper came again, clearer, in that flat, camera-cruel audio. "Forgive us, Father." Tamsin's eyes flicked from the monitor to me and back. "Is that on a loop?" "No," I said. "That's my line." Ricky reached to kill the feed. His hand hovered and didn't do it. The words came a 3rd time, but bent. Not one voice, several, all stacked thin, like faces toothpasted into fog. "Forgive us." The room lights flickered once, the ancient wiring popping like knuckles. From somewhere deep in the halls, someone screamed for real, raw, cut in half mid-breath, exactly the way I'd heard it the first time. I should have quit right there. Most people would have, but I needed that cash, and I didn't want to be the kind of guy who quit over a ghost story caught on bad cameras. That's what I told myself anyway. Ricky shut the haunt down for 20 minutes while staff checked the circuit. The missing guest reappeared, or that's what he said. His girlfriend swore she saw him walk out the exit with the rest. He swore he hadn't made it past the chapel. Security brushed it off as confusion in the fog. End of report. The next night, I came back. Because I'm that kind of stupid. The parking lot was half empty, slick with drizzle. Inside, The haunt smelled stronger. Burnt fog juice, damp plywood, and a sweetness underneath, like something fermenting. The lights over room 7 flickered when I clocked in. Ricky didn't meet my eyes. "Keep the line moving," he said. "We're understaffed." The shift started slow. I fell into rhythm. Whisper, pedal, reset. The guests screamed, laughed, moved on. By 10 o'clock, I was almost calm again. Then a new group entered. 5 people, maybe college kids. 2 girls, 3 guys. The last one was tall, checked shirt, familiar build. My stomach turned. It looked like the guy who went missing. He didn't say a word, didn't even glance at me when the strobe hit his face. The other shrieked, but he just stood there, looking past me toward the altar, eyes glassy like he was following something only he could see. The group pushed through the next curtain, leaving him behind. "Hey," I said, "you're good to move on." No response. He turned toward the altar, slow, careful. His voice came out in a whisper that rasped like sandpaper. "Forgive us, Father." I felt my whole chest tighten. "Sir, you can't." He stepped up to the altar, leaned forward, and placed his hand flat on the wood. The candles flickered. The fog thickened around his legs, swallowing his shoes. "Sir," I reached for his shoulder. My fingers met something cold, wet, soft, like fruit left in the fridge too long. I pulled back. His hand sank through the altar like it wasn't solid. He looked up at me then. His mouth moved, but the voice that came out wasn't his. It was smaller, childlike. 2 taps for yes. The candles all went out at once. The only light came from the strobe, firing slow, 1 flash every 2 seconds. Flash, he was there, hand inside the altar. Flash, his shoulders halfway gone. Flash, only his head, eyes rolled back white. Flash, nothing but fog. I stumbled back, hit the coffin pedal. The prop hand shot out, slapping my leg. Except it wasn't rubber this time. It was warm, wet. It gripped my ankle hard enough to bruise. I fell. The floor vibrated beneath me like something large was moving underneath, dragging itself toward the open space. "Room 7, lights on. House lights now." The overheads burst to life. Everything went still. The altar sat closed. No fog, no guest. Just me, flat on my back, chest heaving. Ricky arrived seconds later. He saw the floor, the smear of wet footprints leading into the altar, the same size as a grown man's, but none coming out. We watched the security feed after they shut the haunt down for good. It showed me whispering my line, hitting the pedal, collapsing backward. No man, no extra figure, just me talking to empty air before throwing myself to the ground like an idiot. That was 3 years ago. The warehouse has been condemned since. Sometimes, though, when I drive past that stretch of road in October, I still see faint fog rolling out of the broken doors, even when the air is clear. And if I slow down, roll the window down just enough, I swear I can hear it. One whisper riding the wind through the empty halls. "Forgive us, Father."